The Salem Housing Authority meeting is called to order. Are there any motions from the commission to elect a temporary chairperson or nominate a temporary chairperson?
I would nominate Commissioner Tesler.
Second.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chairperson Tesler?
Thank you, and good evening. I would like the recorder to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Nanke?
What's that?
Calling the roll.
Are you here? Commissioner Clausen? Commissioner Dickey is absent, and sitting in for her tonight is guest Commissioner Jason Cox. Commissioner Rogers?
Here.
Commissioner Bednarz?
Here.
Commissioner Clem?
Here.
Commissioner Hine is absent. Chair Bennett is
Here.
present on via telecommunications equipment, and temporary chair Tesler.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to break with tradition and ask temporary Commissioner Jason Cox to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would, please.
Okay, so we want to wrap approval of the motion.
Okay, may I have a motion for approval of the special meeting agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. It's that time for public comment. If anyone in the chamber at this time would like to give public comment on the Salem Housing Authority meeting, this is not for Salem City Council. There's no names currently on this. If you would like to give comment, now is your time to step up to the microphone. Okay, seeing no one coming forward, we're going to go right to the next item, which is action items. May I have a motion, please? Commissioner Nanke.
Yes, Madam Chair, on action item 4A regarding authority to execute an addendum to the purchase and sale agreement to sell 8 housing authority rental units approved on April 16th, 2014. I would move staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, all those approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. With no other business before us, I will adjourn the Salem Housing Special Meeting of the Salem Housing Authority.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order this evening's meeting of the Salem Urban Renewal Agency. And this is a special meeting for June 23rd, 2014. Would the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Bennett?
Here.
Board Member Tesler?
Present.
Board Member Nanke?
Here.
Board Member Clausen?
Here.
Board Member Dickey is absent, and sitting in for her tonight is guest Board Member Jason Cox.
Here.
Board Member Rogers?
Here.
Board Member Bednarz?
Here.
Board Member Clem?
Here.
Chair Peterson.
All right. Here. I am here. Oh, good. All right. Okay, thank you. All right. I need a motion for the approval of the special meeting agenda. Member Tesler.
So moved.
It's been moved by Member Tesler and seconded by Member Bednarz to approve the special meeting agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Has anyone signed up for public comment? No, I don't see anyone, but is there anyone in the council chambers who had come and wished to address this agency? All right, I don't see anyone for that. I'll give you that back. All right. Member Tesler, would you like to make a motion regarding resolutions?
Yes, I would. Thank you. I would like to adopt resolution number 14-2, URA adopting a budget of $460 million for the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Salem, Oregon.
Second.
It's been moved by Member Tesler and seconded by Member Bednarz. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And we do have an information report on this evening's agenda for the Urban Renewal Agency, and I understand that there is a staff person, Annie Gorski, is going to present information. Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Gorski.
Good evening. My name is Annie Gorski. I'm a project manager in the city's urban development department. In your packet is an information report regarding the Minto Island Bridge. In terms of where we are with the project is 100% funded, 100% designed, and we are now in the final phase of permitting. This is a complicated project. We need 15 federal and state permits for the project. We've received 14 as of today. That final permit is from the U.S. Coast Guard, and we expect to receive that permit in the next few weeks. So that is the final. When we conclude with permitting, we expect to go out to bid for the project, solicit bids from construction contractors, and at that point we will know the overall schedule for the project. So that's where we are in terms of project update.
Thank you. Are there questions by any of the members? Member Clem, followed by Member Tesler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Annie, I noticed we didn't commit to this happening next year. So do we think that Coast Guard will be done this year and we can think about, do we have to do some in-water testing through certain months of the year, and it could be another 2 years?
Well, and just so everyone is reminded why we do need a U.S. Coast Guard permit, this is considered a navigable waterway because we have the Willamette Queen operates on the river, and because of that, we need a Coast Guard permit. As I said, that's the last federal permit. Every indication that we've received from the Coast Guard is that that permit, that we've satisfied all those permit requirements. At this point, the permit needs to go to Washington, D.C., to the headquarters of the agency, and for those folks to sign off, and then back to Seattle. So every indication is that we'll receive that permit. We're just waiting for that. Based on the last discussions we've had, we expect that in the next few weeks. I think regulatorily, that agency has several more weeks to complete. That's their window extends, but every indication we've gotten from them is that we will receive that in the next few weeks, and therefore we're proceeding with planning. Your reference to timing was to in-water work. That is something that's regulated by the state. And that regulates when activity can occur in waterways and wetlands of the state. And that window is from June to October every year. So because of that, we don't anticipate that we will have a contract awarded to a construction contractor in time for that activity to occur this October. So that's why in the report you'll see we expect the majority of that work to begin next year. Even if we award a contract this year, you probably won't see a lot of activity until next late spring or early summer.
All right. Member Tesler, you had a question?
More or less just a comment. I'm really impressed that you have 14 and 15 permits because I've gotten some of these types of permits and they're very, very difficult and time consuming. I really think that it makes sense to have all your cards in the deck when we're ready to go. And I understand that some of these permits were sort of being timed so that they were passed together at the same time. So hence the delay, although it is disappointing, but we're just making sure that we have everything together in a full package before we start construction, which I really think is a smart idea. And so I think a little delay is probably prudent in this case. So I'm perfectly okay with the strategy, although, you know, I'll march across it. I mean, I'll crawl across it when it's built, so keep on going.
Great.
All right, other questions or comments by members? All right, thank you, Ms. Gorski. Appreciate the report. All right. We have no further business that needs to come before the Urban Renewal Agency, so this meeting is now adjourned.
So it's a two-part motion. So it's just a motion. Oh, it's a motion for nomination for a temporary council president. Is that it? So
All right. I would now like to call to order the regular meeting of the Salem City Council for June 23rd, 2014. And would the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Bennett?
Here.
Councilor Tesler?
Present.
Councilor Nanki? Here. Councilor Clausen? Here. Councilor Dickey is absent, and sitting in for tonight is guest Councilor Jason Cox.
Here.
Councilor Rogers?
Here.
Councilor Bednarz?
Here.
Councilor Clem?
Here.
Mayor Peterson.
Here. Thank you. I would now ask councilors for a motion for nominations for a temporary council president. Yes, Councilor
Thank you,
Nanki.
Madam Mayor. I would nominate Councilor Tesler.
Thank you very much. Councilor Nanki has made the motion, and Councilor Rogers seconded the motion. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, you're back in the harness again, Councilor Tesler. Put you to work tonight. Okay. I would now ask for a motion for approval of additions and deletions to the agenda, and the one change to the agenda that I would ask for is to move a mayor's motion up on the agenda to the position between 1.2 and 2. And beyond that, I don't believe we have any other additions or deletions to the agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct? Okay. All right. So I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilor Tesler and seconded by Councilor Bednarz to adjust the order of the agenda so that I might present a mayor's motion. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. I thought that it was particularly important this evening, and I want to say welcome to everyone who is here. We always are very pleased when members of the public come and join our meetings and participate in our meetings. It's very important to civic involvement and to good government. So thank you all for taking time to come and be with us this evening. My motion, I want to preface by saying that one of the roles that we have as elected officials is to not only oversee the day-to-day and to create policy and see that our policies are carried out by staff, but we really have a very responsible position to our community to be visionary, to look down the road, to really be stewards of the properties and the facilities that our city now owns, that you all own, like the Civic Center. It really is everyone's property because it's public. But it's our job as counselors to define what the future is going to look like after we carefully study and analyze what the needs are going to be, and with careful input and considered thought. And so with those remarks as a preface it, I am introducing a motion this evening that I believe is going to help to move along this city and the city council and the community in that visioning process. My motion is that I move that we no longer consider the current library building as a possible location for the new police facility, that we appoint a blue ribbon task force on the police facility to be located on the Civic Center campus, and the task force to be comprised of residents and counselors and be advisory to the council, and the members will be appointed by the mayor.
Second.
It's been moved by myself, the mayor, and seconded by Councilor Bednarz. Is there discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. I'd like to add a few thoughts and expand upon my reasoning and the reasoning for the council and others who have already told me that they were supportive of this. You know, our first priority with regard to a public facility, public safety facility, is the safety of the public. And that's really been the guiding point for me as we've been considering where this new facility would be and what this new facility would be. And first of all, why do we need this facility? So our first priority really is public safety. In order to protect all areas of our community, our police need to be located in the center of town. Sending police officers out into the community from a centrally located facility on a daily basis lowers our costs and gets them out into their districts faster. Mobilizing specialized tactical equipment from a centralized location facility is critical to community safety because we can get to the right response to the right location in our community most quickly. The Civic Center is at the geographic center of Salem. By locating centrally to other city departments, we can preserve overall efficiency of city operations and keep costs down. Visitors to the Civic Center can handle all of their needs at one location. The centrally located available properties that are being discussed as alternatives, we have found are not adequate in size or shape to meet the police need, and many of those that we looked at in 2011 aren't even available today. The need is urgent. We need to keep this moving forward. We need the right solution for our community. And those are reasons that really preface the motion that I made this evening, and I appreciate so much that the council unanimously is supportive of that motion and supportive of our community moving forward. And I look forward to appointing the task force and to getting the work started and getting the work wrapped up. Those who know me well know that I'm not in favor of lengthy processes. So stay tuned, keep involved, keep looking at the city website. We post regularly every information that we have about this process, and we will continue in that transparent mode We're always available, myself and counselors, we're always available for calls and emails, and we respond to those. I want to say, you know, this discussion about the police facility location, having a new police facility is not a new discussion. I can remember serving on a task force long before I was mayor to address the actual needs, and those needs are still there. So it's something that this council and this city and the staff and community members have been grappling with and addressing for a number of years. Long ago, when this civic center was planned, there actually was a design and an intention that it would be as large as it is today so that it could accommodate new buildings. And we've really looked back to that guidance and said, yes, that makes clear sense. And so with all of those thoughts and all of that input, I'm particularly pleased that this motion is passed this evening and that we'll be able to move forward with the task force and move forward with our decision making. So thank you very much. All right, the next thing we have on our list is public comment. And this is comment on agenda items.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Yes. Did I forget something?
Yeah, you inadvertently skipped over 1.2.
I did.
Please excuse me for interrupting.
I'm sorry. Council and city manager comment, and then we have public comment. All right. See, I'm just anxious to get to the public comment. All right. Councilors. Comment from councilors. Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2 quick items. One, they didn't turn off my electric bill. I've been out fishing in the wilds of Montana.
I was wondering what this was.
And it's fascinating, actually. As I was driving over tonight, there was a University of Montana vehicle in front of me that had the outline of Montana. It said, "Get lost." And I basically did. I was without cellular service or any kind of data for 3 straight days. And when I got back in range, my phone near had a heart attack, letting me know there was millions of things waiting for me there. Second to that, the reservoir that will supply the Mill Creek Corporate Center will be coming online in the next 3 weeks. So that pretty much opens that entire area for immediate business. So for all of those folks watching all over the nation who are looking for a place to place your business, we're ready now.
We're right there. Great, thank you. Councilor Bednarz.
I'm going to take this moment to address the motion that you made earlier this evening, and I think it's a really important one. One of the things that our community has clearly said, and I've clearly heard, is that we need to be open on our discussions about the police center, the civic center, the library, anything that we have a tendency to, we are making a decision on. Had we not brought up the issue of the library, at some point somebody said, well, why didn't you consider this? Why didn't you look at this? At least think out of the box. And that's what you voted us in here to do, is to think outside the box, to think constructively, and to move forward and look at the options that we have in front of us. As it turns out at this point, it does not look like it's feasible to put it into the library, but at least we entertained the idea. So I just want to say, for all the people who wrote me, and I responded to everyone that wrote me at this point, I really appreciate their comments, and I appreciate the concerns, and trust me, our family is a real big library fan. We use the facilities. My mother was a huge supporter in her estate of the library. It was nothing about trying to get rid of the library. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It was to say, we really want to enhance this. If it had gone forward, I personally would not have supported it if it had not included enhanced services, such as 7-day-a-week service, and a better facility than what we even have today. So it's an idea. It upsets people when it comes out, at least. But I think it's most important that when we have an open discussion, that people don't have an immediate reaction to things, and let it vet out a little bit. Let it go through its process. And don't always believe the blogs and the newspapers when you see them out there, because there's more to the story than what you're reading or what you're hearing. And I hope that in my emails that I sent out to people that you understood clearly that we were looking and we were talking to the library board and the Friends of the Library and the Library Foundation, and we were working through things all the way through. So again, thank you for your comments. Please understand we're trying to do this in the best for you and us and everybody in this community.
Thank you very much. Other comments by councilors? Councilor Tesler.
Yeah, 2 things. Just wanted to echo the counselor from Ward 7's comments that, we received a lot of email, and there was some very thoughtful email, and there was some not so thoughtful email, but that's okay. And I just want to reiterate that there are always two sides to every story, and there's a lot of places to get information from. And I think a good thing to do is to contact your counselor if you have concerns. Counselor, contact the city manager's office, contact the mayor. Talk about these things with us. I mean, we are happy to talk to you about things and give you the real skinny on it. Don't just read a blog and, fly off the handle, because a blog is someone's opinion. So that may not be what's really happening. So, end of that. World Beat Festival is this weekend.
Yes.
Go down to World Beat, check it out. I would like to give somebody a little gold star tonight, because he never said anything about this, and I found out through a back way person. But, I guess Councilor Bednarz and his whole entire family do trash detail for World Beat. And he takes his own time, his own rig, and deals with all the smelly trash on the 100-degree day that it's probably going to be, and takes it out to the dump. And I really thought that was a good thing. So you get a gold star for that. And do go down to World Beat, because it's great. They have good food, they have good music, it's great entertainment. The fire dancers, I think, are going to be here again this year. Great for kids, totally family friendly. Wear sunscreen. It's a good time. Hope to see you down there.
Great. Thank you very much. Other comments? Councillor Bennett, I'm not going to ignore you, even though that you are a few miles away. Do you have comment?
No, I don't, Madam Mayor. Thank you, though.
All right, thank you very much. I do want to turn to our city manager, and I also hope that she will tell us a little about the 4th of July.
Yes, I will. First, I wanted to let council know that because of the city's donation for the World War II Memorial, we've received this commemorative coin, and I'll pass that around, and we'll keep it in the mayor's office. And the city of Salem will be listed on the donor wall for that contribution. And that's been the memorial's wonderful and very meaningful, and I hope if people haven't seen it yet, they take an opportunity to go to the site by the state capitol and view that. Regarding the 4th of July, I think most people know, and council certainly does, that the promoter that we usually use for the 4th of July was not able to do the event this year. And so the city of Salem will be hosting the event and sponsoring the event. We'll have music at Riverfront Park starting at 4 p.m. and going till 11 p.m. Fireworks start when it begins to get dark, which will be about 10:15 p.m. this year on the 4th of July. We'll have food carts there. It'll be a family-friendly event, and we hope people come and have a picnic and really enjoy the park and those amenities and the music and the food and the fireworks.
And is there an admission fee?
No, there will be no admission fee, and so everyone's welcome to come.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we now will go to public comment, and I believe we may have people signed up. Thank you very much. All right. I'll call a couple names at a time just so we can sort of move along and people be ready. Patrick Schwab, followed by, all right, put my glasses on here, Jay Levity. I probably am not saying that right, so you can correct me. But we start with Patrick Schwab.
Hi, my name is Patrick Schwab. Address is 4352 Trapper Drive, Northeast Salem. But I'm the secretary of the American Council of the Blind of Oregon Willamette Chapter. And I want to make sure that the members of the City Council clearly understands that the American Council of the Blind of Oregon and the Willamette Chapter of the American Council of the Blind of Oregon supports the Salem Historical Landmark Commission's finding that the Salem Hospital has not submitted a plan that replaces the significance of Howard Hall as a historical and cultural landmark. The Willamette chapter met with representatives of the hospital 5 times. We listened carefully, and we made suggestions to their plans, but their plan in the end fell short of replacing Howard Hall's significance in history and culture. We would like to work with the hospital to raise funds and to prepare grants to fund the restoration of the building. The historical building is worth saving. Please affirm the Landmark Commission's finding that didn't support raising Howard Hall. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do any of councilors have any questions for Mr. Schwab? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. Jay Levity? And that he will be followed by Brian Hines.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, my name is Jay Levitri, and I'm here this evening in an official capacity representing Willamette Humane Society as its communications manager. I'm pleased to report that the Willamette Humane Society Board of Directors has reviewed the City of Salem's proposed ordinance bill number 1014, which relates to the sale of live animals on city property and in the public right-of-way, and which we have not read publicly yet, but we offer our full support for its passage. We know this proposed bill will help address the serious health issues related to the sale of unvaccinated and unsterilized pets in the community, and that it will also encourage the proper care for animals by responsible breeders, rescue groups, and adoption agencies. And in closing, we thank our city councilors for taking action on behalf of pets in our community, and we look forward to working with you as future matters may arise. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there questions? Councilor Tesler.
I do have one question for you. I don't think you're not a no-kill shelter, right? You do.
That's correct.
Okay.
We do euthanize animals.
So, I mean, when you do euthanize animals, do you feel that the passing of this kind of ordinance is going to help decrease the amount of animals that you have to euthanize because the puppies were in the right of way? Or, I mean, do you feel that that's going to make a dent in that? Or that the animals that you receive?
We do believe that it will help encourage the sterilization of animals and from agencies who do endorse sterilization. And so that will impact the pet population in our community, and as a systematic result, will help reduce the animals that we euthanize in our facility every year.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brian Hines, followed by Lauren Meisner.
I'm here to talk about the police facility. First,
Yes, I'm sorry, you need to introduce yourself and give
Brian
your
Hines.
address or your ward number, please.
Oh, sure. Brian Hines, 10371 Lake Drive, Salem, Oregon. First, just wanted to say thank you to all the people wearing hands off our library stickers. You made a difference. People I've been working with, Salem Community Vision and many others around the city have been asking for a task force for a long time, and finally we have one, and it took the library lovers to standing up to saying, yeah, we need to go in a different direction. I had remarks all set up to call for a task force, so now I don't have to do that. I can say thank you to all those that mentioned bloggers like me. I think I am the person that everybody's both been noting and criticizing. I think everything I say in my blog was accurate. No way from the city council or city staff questioned anything I said, because there was a plan to look into converting the police facility, the library, to a police facility, and it's now stopped. Now the question is where we go now with this task force, and I would just like to ask and plead with Mayor Pearson and Councilor Bednarz, in thinking outside the box, we need to think way outside the box. And one of the boxes we're thinking inside is the box of the Civic Center. All along, a document here in a post called How the City of Salem Decided to Build a New Police Facility at the Civic Center, that you can read at salemcommunityvision.com and also on my website. I spent like an hour going through all the city council agendas and staff notes, searching for police, and found that the very first mention of this was in the formation of a council subcommittee to work with the University of Oregon students on planning for a police facility at the Civic Center. And from that point on, we've gone one direction, which is to plan for a police facility at the Civic Center. There have never been open public hearings. There have never been serious contemplating of locations outside in the community, aside from some very superfluous attempts to justify the already decided upon location that would take over part of Mirror Pond. So I would just plead with the mayor and city manager to staff to pick people on the committee that are going to really think outside the box, that will go up to Portland Road, that will go out to the east side, the west side, because there's all different places where this police facility can be. And it sounded to me like from the mayor's remarks, it's already been decided that it has to be at the Civic Center. And that I'm just kind of befuddled by the idea that we're going to have an open, transparent city government taking a whole new look through a task force where the police facility should be, and it's already decided it's going to be in the central location downtown. I think that's way restrictive. If we can think outside the box so far as to say take over the library, we can certainly think outside the box enough to think, let's really look at all the locations for a police facility, not just the ones that were seized on back in 2009 by city staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to comment, Mr. Hines, to your comments. Number one is that I served on a task force that very carefully was considering the location of a police department, the needing of a new police facility, long before I became the mayor. So that report that you cite was certainly by far not the first time that a new police facility has ever been discussed openly and throughout this community. So I want to be careful that the public does understand this is an issue that has been discussed by this city council, the previous city council, by community members who served on that task force, like myself, not an elected official at that time. So there have been many discussions for many years. I don't want anyone to leave here tonight thinking that it was an idea that just recently came up out of the box. And speaking of out of the box, one of the responsibilities that we have as elected officials is to gather information and come to the best decision that we can. We have been entrusted with the responsibility to do that. And this council has very carefully done that. One of the ideas that came up in a work session was perhaps the library could be converted and we would have a new library. We asked staff to look at that. And so the city engineer did look at that carefully and found that trying to retrofit the existing library building would actually be an impossibility to bring it up to the standard that a police facility needs to be, which is a standard that if an earthquake occurs, that building would so survive that the police would be able to get right back in there and continue to provide public safety. That is our first and highest priority as we're looking at a new police facility. And it was found immediately that the library would not be adequate to that, and that's why I've made the motion to remove the library from consideration. Secondly, as the elected officials, we have a responsibility to have a vision and to listen to the community, but to move forward. And what you saw tonight was a very careful moving forward with a unanimous decision by this city council to keep the police facility on this civic campus. And that will be the direction to the Blue Ribbon Task Force. That's the direction we're going in. So I don't want any misunderstanding following what Mr. Hines has just said, that maybe that task force is going to look outside the box and look elsewhere. That's not where we're looking. We have to make decisions as leaders. It's our role, it's our responsibility, it's our duty. And we just did that. And so I want a very clear understanding across the community. We didn't do that lightly. We didn't do it without forethought. We didn't do it without careful consideration. But we've made that decision, and we will now move forward. Thank you. Do any other councilors have any comments or questions of Mr. Hines? Councilor Bednarz.
I just want to make it clear, I've read your blog and I've looked at different things, and there's been some implications that perhaps we're doing things behind closed doors. I just wanted to let you know that the city of Salem cannot, none of us can meet as a quorum without public notice. And if we meet, we can meet as a minority and have discussions, but we cannot make decisions at that point. If we meet as a majority, we can make decisions, but we do not hold any meetings behind closed doors, save and except executive sessions, which are very limited in what we can talk about in those sessions. Property rights, contracts, that kind of thing. So when you're writing your blog, don't say that we were behind closed doors, we've made decisions and we're just walking away and we're walking around people. That's not true at all. Every single meeting we hold is given, a public notice is given, and we hold it with preparations. If you're handicapped, if you can't make it in the room, there's stuff on the website so you can read what we talked about, minutes, everything's there. Nothing's hidden, not one thing.
Sure. Well, I appreciate it. I'd just like to briefly point out that, as I said, I spent an hour and a half researching, trying to find out how this decision to put the police facility, the Civic Center, was arrived at. It wasn't easy to find, as anyone that uses the city website would find out. And yes, the meetings are available. They're posted, on an obscure website. A few people came. There were very few members of the University of Oregon Sustainable Cities Task Force. Most were from the Chamber of Commerce. They were people invited. There were very few members of the community. That is one thing. And I would just like to say that as a political process, I would really like this project to succeed. And everybody in Salem Community Vision and others I'm working with want you to. But I'm just suggesting that if you develop a ground-up approach, if people feel like they've been listened to, if they feel like the decision to put the police facility at the Civic Center really reflects the will of the people, you have a good chance of passing a bond measure and having broad support. But I can tell you from my research here, and what I wrote in this post, I sent to Courtney Knox Bush, the staffer. I said, correct me if anything I said was wrong. She didn't correct me. So this is the truth, that the decision was made by a council subcommittee with very little public input. And now we're going down that route, and you had 30 public meetings, and you heard many other options. The Portland Road people are eager to have a police facility there. They want you to come to Portland Road, and you've just rejected that out of hand. So I'll be quiet and let others talk. But I wish we would have more of this where we could have an open discussion rather than now the decision's already been made. And so what's the point of coming to the task force? It's between Mirror Pond and Mirror Pond, I guess, because that's the only place it can go. So thank you.
Councilor Clausen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, I had a quick question for the city manager. Was the report that came out of that subcommittee and task force, is that available and is it publicly available?
All the information from all of our task forces are available.
Mr. Hines left. My question was for him was going to be if he read the report and the comparison of the outside locations and the analysis that was done. And I would encourage people to read that. It's not a decision that council is arriving at out of thin air. The work was done. The time was put into it, the effort was made, outside input was taken, and there is a breadth of knowledge that is in that report that details this on-site versus off-site versus costs for doing off-site and all the different comparisons of many, many, many locations around town. So I would encourage people to read that. Find that, read that.
And if I can, the Sustainable Cities project in relation to a police facility at this site, it was one of many projects they did for us. And the question at that time that was asked from the task force is it feasible to even put a police facility on this site? Is there room to do that? Because we had an engineering estimate and a programming estimate at that time of how many square feet would be needed. So that was to answer a specific question. That was by no means the only site that was looked at. We looked at about 30 different sites around the community. And the reason that council has talked about having it, and the police chief of having it at a central location, is so we have an even response time around the community. While people may, for reasons of their own, want to have it next to their house or in their neighborhood, our responsibility is to make sure we can get throughout the neighborhood with our police force in as fast and responsible a time as we can do that. So it's really about the operational needs of the department so that we can provide for safety of the community.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Councilor Bednarz.
Quick comment here. I went quickly to the cityofsalem.net. Right on the front page, it says police facility concepts. You click that, right there's a whole list of all the agendas of all the different meetings. Not convoluted, not difficult to see. It's all there and very, very quickly there.
Thank you. All right, moving along. Lauren Meisner, followed by Jim Shepke.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Laura Meisner, and I'm the president of the Coalition Advocating for Animals, and I am here to urge the council to adopt the ordinance 1014, prohibition of the sale of live animals. And I'd like to just address a few issues while I have your attention. Selling puppies and kittens on sidewalks spreads disease and is dangerous to both the animals as well as people who come in contact with them. Parvo is a killer disease and is particularly lethal to puppies, and distemper kills kittens. Animal shelters fear both diseases and have disinfection protocols to guard against them. After coming in contact with these animals on the street, the public, can track it home on their clothing and shoes and make their own pets sick if they're not vaccinated. Allowing this practice also undermines the mission and work of rescues and shelters, as well as stores like PetSmart and Petco that are working to promote adoption. If people have puppies and kittens, they need to contact shelters and rescues in their communities who can take them, get them vaccinated, get them fixed, and find them homes. Just as an example, last week I went to a woman's home in Turner, and I took 20 of her 22 kittens out of her property, and 7 went to the Humane Society, 6 went to Salem Friends of Felines, and I took 6 of the baby kittens and their mom to my home as part of my rescue. So CAFA urges the city to adopt this ordinance so that puppies and kittens aren't sold on public right-of-ways for whoever walks by. I think we are the state capital. We need to join other Oregon municipalities, become caretakers of our community, and institute this ordinance, which offers a more humane environment for animals in Salem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there questions? Yes, Councilor Nanki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, when we have first readings of ordinance bills, especially this one, they do different things at times. This will be for us to schedule a public hearing so you can say pass the ordinance. We really aren't going to do anything tonight rather than do nothing or send it to a public hearing. So,
right.
You want us to have a public hearing then?
Yes.
Excellent.
That would be fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. Jim Shepke, followed by Marianne Barkley. And Mr. Shepke, if you please also give your name, your address, or your ward, and remember that it's 3 minutes testimony, and at the end of 2 minutes, the amber light comes on. At the end of 3 minutes is the red light.
Madam Mayor and
Thank
Council,
you.
my name is Jim Shepke. I live in Ward 2. I have a handout for you tonight, and I'm here to speak about the police facility issue. And I want to thank you, Madam Mayor, for your resolution. I'm glad that the library is not being considered any longer. I was very opposed to that, and I'm glad that we're not even going to think about that anymore. But I want to echo Brian Hines' comments about the fact that we really need a broad-based task force, and we really do need to think out of the box, and we do need to look at other locations for the library, or for the police facility, and for a very simple reason. To build a police facility on the Civic Center is simply going to cost too much money, more than the community can afford. In my handout tonight, I hope the task force will look at this and find this of interest, and I hope the council finds this of interest. I looked at the 20 cities in the United States that are closest in population size to Salem, and I calculated the distance of their police facility from their city hall. And it's very interesting what I found. The average distance between City Hall and the police facility in these 20 cities across the United States that are closest in size to our city is a mile. They're not adjacent to one another. They're not even next door to each other on average. And you'll see there's cities like Ontario, California, where the police facility is 5 miles from City Hall. There's Fort Collins, Colorado, 3.8 miles. Eugene, the new police facility in Eugene, is 1.7 miles from City Hall, and it's working out just fine. Eugene built their new police facility for $17 million. And the costs that I've seen for building a police facility on Mirror Pond far exceed that. And that is precisely the problem. If you want the citizens to pass a bond to pay for this police facility, I think it's going to be impossible to put it on the Civic Center because it simply will cost too much. I want a new police facility. I want it to happen soon, and I hope the task force will look at all options for the police facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, councilors have some questions for you. I believe Councilor Clausen and then Councilor Nanki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Shepke, I'd be curious. I definitely have not done this bit of research here. Do you know how many of these cities are, I don't know why you wouldn't necessarily look at this because it's not what you're looking for, but how many of these cities had land on their civic center or within a mile of their police facility? Did they already own land? Do you?
I simply looked at the distance between City Hall and the police facility, because there seems to be an assumption here that's driving this whole debate, that the police facility has to be next to City Hall.
Well,
and so I wanted to see, is that a best practice in the United States, that the police facility is right next to City Hall?
Yeah.
And what I discovered is that that's not the case.
Well, I'd be really curious if these cities had the choice to build it, and if they had the choice to build it and they chose to go elsewhere, I'd be really curious if that was the case and why they chose to go elsewhere.
I can't answer that.
Okay, thank you. I just think that's pretty important.
Councilor Nanki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What was the price you quoted for the Eugene facility?
17 million.
Thank you.
And it's a new facility. They opened it last year, I believe.
And I would ask that council be provided information from the city of Eugene on the specifics of that facility.
Certainly, we can do that.
Excellent.
They were able to purchase a building that happened to fit for them at the lowest point of the recession, and we can give you that information.
Excellent.
Councilor Councilor Bednarz.
Thank you, Mr. Shepke. It's interesting to note, I like the data that you've provided here. There's a couple outliers, obviously, at the 5.1 mile and the 3.8 mile, Fort Collins as an example. Taking those out, it looks like most of these, the police department is within a quarter of a mile, 0.2, 0.3, quarter of a mile from City Hall. In other words, it kind of goes the other direction. If you throw out the outliers, it kind of says, yeah, they are kind of close. They're not 10 miles apart. They're not even a mile apart. It's a fraction of a mile. So that's my observation from the data.
And I think we have sites that we haven't looked at that are within a quarter mile of here. For example, the Honda dealership that's moving out just in the downtown area. I mean, Councilor talked about the study that was done of alternatives. Councilor Clausen said that. That was done in 2011. This is 2014. So I think it's time to look at all the alternatives here in 2014, and you might be surprised what locations would be feasible in the downtown area.
Well, I'd like to add, Mr. Shepke, that particular property that you have now named is not available.
Okay.
All right?
I didn't know that.
We do not make our decisions based on a lack of information. We make our decisions based upon a myriad of details and information and fact-finding. Just because we did not stand here tonight and say, we know that X property is not available, does not mean that we didn't look at it or that we didn't know about it. This is simply not the forum in which to bring out the charts and the graphs and the lists that could show you all of the places we've looked at and all of the considerations that we've had.
Madam Mayor.
I want to be careful that people understand that just because I didn't say take the Honda dealership site off the list doesn't mean that we haven't considered it. I think it's also important that this community remember, and that people in this chamber remember, that we do not have the power, except by condemnation, to go out and tell someone that their property is going to become the site of the next police department. So we're careful about that. We're mindful about that. The private sector will decide what it wants to do with its property. And we're respectful for that.
Madam Mayor, with all due respect, I was simply reacting to the public information.
Sometimes the public information is not correct.
Which is a report from 2011, and this is 2014.
Okay.
The latest report of alternatives that were considered for the police facility was from 2011. That just came out in the testimony a few minutes ago.
That does not mean that we did not look at other sites. This is 2014. Okay, I'm not going to continue sparring with you. Thank you. All right. All right. Mary Ann Barkley?
Beklowski.
Thank you.
My
And would you
address-
please state your address and ward, and you have 3 minutes.
My address is 1887 Park Avenue Northeast. I don't remember my ward number offhand.
I came prepared to speak against turning the library into the police station. I obviously don't need to do that now. I've got to gather my thoughts. I am very happy that the City Council has been trying hard to think outside the box. I think that's very necessary. I've been to quite a few City Council meetings over the years for the chicken issue, for the no third British issue, for other issues. And I think what I'm going to do is use my time tonight to basically say the emperor has no clothes. Madam Mayor, I respect you, but I have seen you hold so many hissy fits when people have dared to disagree with you. Please do not ask for public comment and then go into a fit of pique because they disagree with you. That is not statesmanlike, and that's beneath your obvious abilities. And I guess I'll end there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No,
Richard Foote.
I'm sorry, I have a question for you. I'm sorry. Can you come back? Thank you. I appreciate that. Can you tell me, I'm just curious, can you tell me where you got this information that we were going to turn the library into a police station? I mean, did somebody tell you that, or did you read that somewhere, or
Well,
how did you get that information?
I try to keep up with the Statesman Journal. I try to keep up with Mr. Hines' blog. I try to come up with my information from different sources, Salem Weekly, wherever I can find it. I realize that it often isn't complete. I realize I'm often not speaking with all the information. I don't feel I have a choice, because where am I supposed to get all that information?
Well, you can ask your city councilor, number one, and number two, you can ask any of us this information. You can ask the city manager this information. You could ask Anna Peterson this information. All of these people here will talk to you.
You can talk to my city council members, and they will tell you that I do correspond with them. But I do try to get all the information. I do try to consider the sources. But it's very confusing out here in the public that we don't always have all the latest information. I didn't hear that the library was not going to be turned into the police station until, what was it, yesterday? Sometime over the weekend. So you do have to realize that people from the public are going to come to you with incomplete information. As hard as they try to educate themselves, you need to be patient with us. You need to continue to educate us and be polite about it, and not let us know that we're wasting your time because we're not doing it on purpose. We're doing it because we're trying to be good citizens.
Well, how can we more efficiently communicate with you? Should we have a blog?
Yeah.
And I'm totally honest with you.
Yeah, well, if you can get the Statesman's Journal to do a better job, is to be a real paper. And I realize that's not within your mandate.
I'm gonna pass that one by, because I think actually Mr. Rose does try and do a good job. And in his defense, I will say that Michael Rose is probably one of the best reporters that we've had from the Statesman Journal. And so I want to encourage Mr. Rose to keep on with that good job that he's trying to do to provide factual information to the community. But, we're trying to figure out how to communicate better with the public. Please engage with your counselor and give your ideas to us on how we can engage with you. I cannot spoon feed everybody information. I mean, I respond to emails, and I respond to a lot of emails, but I can't be responsible for spoon feeding people information.
No, you can't.
And so if people choose to get their information from sources that are not valid or truthful or opinionated, I'm not responsible for that content. I'm only responsible for the content that I can give you. And I do respect your comment. You've been active on a lot of issues. I'm sorry that you don't feel respected, because I do respect you. And I think Mayor Peterson is just trying to clear the air here tonight. We have the right to have opinion too.
Yes, you do.
I do. And I will always be critical of anyone who distributes specious information through this community, which there have been a lot of lately. Okay? So help us to help you.
Well, I think we're all trying to wade through a lot of information.
Absolutely.
We're all trying to filter out and we all see things through our own prisms. And I'm very liberal, and I understand I see things through that prism, and a more conservative person is going to see things much differently than I do. And all we can do is try to educate ourselves as well as we can.
Absolutely.
And yes, if you guys, anything you people can do to get the information out there to us and the public is extremely useful. You've come to our community organizations. That's always very useful when a counselor comes to those and we can hear them in person. If you all had your own blogs, I don't know how you'd have the time for it on top of everything else, but if you all could, that would be terrific too. Then we can get your points of view. I very much respect Mr. Hines' point of view. I am really glad he has it out there. I really respect the No Third Bridges point of view. I'm really glad that they get their information out there. And all I could do is try to take it, as much of that all in as I can, and try to test it for accuracy as much as I can for my, when knowing I don't have all the information, and make the best decisions I can. And I know all of you try to do the same thing, and I appreciate that. I don't mean to denigrate anybody. I especially can't believe that you people serve without pay for the amount of time that you spend on this.
We could have a long conversation about that another time. But thank you very much for coming down here tonight, and I truly, sincerely mean that. And I hope that you don't leave here and not feel that you're respected.
Well, thank you.
Because
I
that would
appreciate
bother
that.
me a lot.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Councilor Clausen.
I have a quick question too, actually, if you don't mind. Sorry. Oh, I don't want to grill you, but I do have a quick question.
It's on the grill.
I very much appreciate your approach and your conversation here at the podium tonight. A question I've had for many of the responses I've heard to the idea of floating the library out there is, were you under the impression that the idea of this was to move the police in and kind of who cares about the library or what happens to the library after that? Or I've been curious about that.
Well, again, I'll be very honest here, even though I know I'm going to step on toes. I have an MLS in library science. I've worked as a professional librarian. I was the head of collection development and technical services for the Troy Public Library in Troy, New York, which is pretty comparable to here. And I feel like the library service in this city has gone way downhill since I moved here 10 years ago. And I realize that there are monetary reasons for that is not under everybody's control. But my biggest fear, if you tried to move the library out, would be the fact that it would get put in an even more substandard space than it's in now. I mean, library service has changed so much over the years since I got my degree that, yes, it would be very easy to put it in a better space. But I wouldn't trust the city of Salem to put it in a better place. I don't trust it to fund it accurately. I haven't seen that happen.
Thank you, and I appreciate the comments because to the point of trying to get all the information out there, I think one piece of information that was not distributed very well, or maybe wasn't received or wasn't communicated well by us on council. I think we try to do good, but it's hard to do. It really is. It's was as part of the whole conversation at the work session. The conversation definitely revolved around the fact that if the police go to the library, part of that same bond, and they would live and die together, would be a new facility for the library that the city loves and appreciates and wants. And I'll tell you right now, this library is 90,000 square feet. That's expensive to maintain when we only need 50.
Yeah.
It's almost double the square footage of what we need in our library. And that was part of the conversation we had on council, or in the work sessions, to say, hey, look, the building structure itself is oversized. It's closer fit to what we need for future offices and services for other city functions. And maybe we can put the library right across the street from the bus station. Maybe we could find a facility there. Maybe we could put it in a great spot in downtown where it's easy to get to still. Maybe we could split it into branch libraries where CCRLS is better utilized by people being able to check out a book from anywhere in the CCRLS system. And that was part of the conversation. It was about how is this a win-win for everybody, and they would live and die together. So just in the spirit of trying to get that information out there, definitely the conversation was geared around positive for the library, and if it's not a positive for the library, it doesn't happen. So I definitely appreciate what you're saying. I love that you came down to talk to us, and I think that was very much on the top of everybody's minds during this whole conversation. So,
Well, I
thank
am
you.
very happy to see that city councilors and the city government is thinking about outside the box on a lot of these issues, and that's the one thing I hate to hear people slam you for, because that is so necessary today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down again.
All right. Richard Foote, followed by Debbie West.
Hi, my name's Richard Foote. I have a business down in the Reed Opera House.
Please give your address.
And my address is 4915 Swagel, and the business address is 189 Liberty Northeast. So, Madam Mayor, council members, I'm here on behalf of the Salem Food Truck Association to request that you vote in the affirmative for moving forward on Ordinance 11-14, which is the Mobile Food Code update. Tonight is the first reading. We hope that you'll vote to have the public hearing currently scheduled for July 14th. On behalf of the mobile businesses of the Salem Food Truck, we want to express our appreciation, too many words, you know, our appreciation for the effort put forth by Ms. Anderson Ogilvy's department and Aaron Panko in specific in the community development area. Aaron met with members of the industry, myself, a bunch of others, went to one of the Can-Do meetings downtown, solicited other community input. The proposed changes, while not everything that we were hoping for, do go a long way to supporting a viable and popular business model that will move us into contemporary food service in the U.S. And, you know, we may think it's easy, like just take that, just draw a line through that, but looking at the rule changes they went through, you know, change a rule here or there, turns out they're code cleanup and simplification, which is really going to help the city administer food trucks, which are a spaghetti mess right now, touches some 20 or 30 different sections. As you look at the first reading, you'll see there's lots of things in there. The new code will be simple to administer, simpler to understand, and will show small startup businesses or allow them to thrive and meet the needs of the community. I'm going to talk a lot more about this at the public hearing, so this is the Reader's Digest version. I'd like to present one more request. As you know, in Oregon, we have seasons. Now, if that comes as a shock, I don't know where you've been. In the winter, food trucks have a tough time, even in Portland, making a living. Most of us take on other work in order to make ends meet. When the time comes to vote to adopt these code changes, and we do hope that you do that adoption, if there's any way to invoke the emergency clause to make them effective soon, that would have a significant positive effect on 2014 income for current mobile food community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Yes. Questions for Mr. Foote? Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for coming down.
Yes, sir.
Glad to be moving forward on this. I just want to encourage you to bring forth those items that you would still like that aren't included in this to the public hearing as well, so we can review those and
we will
come to a good conclusion for everyone.
I mean, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Debbie West, followed by Anita Owen. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. My name is Debbie West, and I live at 314 Canuku Street, Southeast in Salem. And I'm here in support of the Ordinance Bill 1014 relating to the sale of live animals on city property in the public right-of-way. I've worked for many years in dog and cat rescue. I'm one of the founders of Salem Friends of Felines. And the only solution to the pet overpopulation is spay, neuter, and adopt. And in the past month, I've had two incidences where I've seen, while I'm out for Marion County Dog Shelter promoting the adoption of the homeless dogs, they're trying to find homes. There's a man in the corner of the Petco shopping center selling puppies. I inquired. These were 6-week-old puppies, too young to go to a home. They hadn't been vaccinated or seen a vet. And chances are really high with all the people handling them, the people who are buying them aren't aware of what they need to do with these puppies, that those puppies could get parvo, which is a deadly disease, as Laura was saying. And then just Saturday, while also doing an outreach for the Marion County Dog Shelter, once again promoting the adoption of homeless dogs, and PAL, Prevent a Litter, and CAFA, Coalition Advocating for Animals. At the Salem Saturday Market, there's a woman giving away free kittens, and she's from Albany. Luckily, I was able to get 2 of them. So I know, because I took them to the Willamette Humane Society, that those cats will be spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and adopted into responsible homes to people who understand being a pet guardian. So I really urge the City Council to pass this ordinance. It's good for the city. It's good for our community. We need to be the voice for animals. The latest thing I heard was for free roaming cats in Marion and Polk County. These are cats who do not have a home. They're called feral cats or community cats. 70,000 cats. That's not good for the cats. That's not good for the community. And the only solution is we have to get those animals spayed and neutered and into responsible homes. And by allowing people to give away animals free or even selling them, there's no guarantee. So I hope this will pass, and I think we need to all work together for the good of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Any questions? Councilor Clem, excuse me.
Hi, Ms. West. Thank you for coming down and testifying. We just adopted a rescue dog, and it's great. But
Thank
if you
you.
could give one piece of advice to people who are tempted to take those free kittens, what would you say to them? Or dogs?
Well, one of the things that down the road, when this passes, I'm going to be very optimistic, is that we educate people who are out doing this. These are your resources. These are the people you can contact. They can contact me. They can contact Laura Meisner, the Willamette Humane Society, Salem Friends of Felines. Give them some alternatives to giving those animals away for free.
Right. Don't fall for the cute kitten or the cute puppy.
Yeah, and to discourage people,
right.
They're not free. If you're going to be a responsible
They're expensive.
pet guardian, if you're going to get them spayed, neutered, vaccinated, it's a good deal if you go through a shelter or rescue. It's
There
a
you
good deal and a good deed.
We can regulate all we want, but people will still take a free animal, and our advice to them is go
And
through the Humane
And there's
Society.
nothing invested.
Right.
They've got something for free, so
Right.
for some people, it's easy to toss. And that's what's really happening in huge numbers is with cats. The cat problem is really, that probably everybody in their neighborhood can attest to. So, yeah.
All right, Councilor Tesler.
Just a quick reminder to come back.
Oh, I will.
When this goes to public hearing,
Yes,
so,
yes.
because I didn't, you understand that we're just going to
Yes,
schedule
yes,
this for our
yes.
public hearing.
I just want to be the voice as many times as I can.
Okay, I just wanted to remind you. And remember, here's 3 things that are never free: boats, horses, or cars.
Right.
Thank you very much.
It is on July 14th.
Okay,
Is the meeting. Okay, so make a note.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down. Appreciate that. Anita Owen.
I came here to speak about the library because I feared that it might, that I knew you were looking at it as a possible police facility, and it kind of shocked me, wide awake, as I love this library here. It is a large library, but it's also a great meeting place for the community where we can have lectures and a lot of meetings and a lot of different participatory events. So I am very glad you are not looking at it as a police department. I was kind of sorry to hear that you went as far to get that the reason that you're not going to look at it as a police department because it doesn't quite fit the needs of the police, rather than we need it, we want it, the citizens would like to keep it, I am pretty sure most of the citizens, as a public library and community center for us all. I don't speak as well as a lot of people who came in, but I believe strongly in citizen input and the importance of sharing and knowing what's going on in our community. So you can tell it's not comfortable for me to be up here, but I am up here because I consider this important. I did not get my information from Brian Hines on the blog, but let me tell you, I appreciate Brian Hines for him coming up here, and I appreciate it if he is doing a blog, and I know Brian Hines would put out proper information. I did not get my information from the Statesman Journal either, but I did get it from informed citizens who told me this was happening. I did not hear it from the city council. Did not hear it from my city council person. I am in Ward 2. My name is Anita Owen. Pardon me, I forgot that. My address is 1795 Summer Street, Southeast in Salem here. I'm a little nervous and I'm a little upset because I saw my mayor and my councilor being extremely testy with some of the citizens who came to speak up as if we had some kind of fault for doing that. And I do not want to see that happen again. It's just terribly hard on citizens to speak up when they get treated as they were by the mayor and even some of our city councilors. So anyway, I also believe in a police department does not have to be here on the Civic Center area. Now, it's nice if you can fit it there without making it too expensive, because I can't afford my taxes being much higher. So please, the thing I'm asking for now is that you at least let us know what's going on so citizens can have input and then treat us with dignity and respect when we come and speak up.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Councilor Clausen, I think, has a question for you.
I do. Thank you, ma'am, for coming down and speaking. I do want to address the thought about citizen input, and I think all of council wants citizen input as well, and I think your being here is a testament to that. We had a public works session in which we talked about the idea of the library, and we asked staff to bring the report back to us in a public setting so that we could get feedback and we could get the initial parts. This is the first step in what would have been a long process of trying to get input and feedback from lots of people. And as it turns out, the first step with a professional opinion was, hold on, this is a no-go. We're not going to waste money making an analysis here even. So I appreciate that you're down here for public input. That's what we want. That is a process we set into motion, and I love seeing the people here because that is what we want to see. So I appreciate you coming down. Thank you, and you're always welcome here.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes the period of time people have on the list. Everyone who signed up has spoken, and I'm going to ask for just a brief recess so people can kind of adjust themselves here, because I know some people who came to speak earlier may want to be able to leave the chamber. So we'll take a brief recess, but don't go far. Thank you. All right, welcome back. I think we have, yes, we have all our counselors back, and it's been drawn to my attention that we do have another gentleman who wanted to speak and was just a little late and didn't get his name on the list. And so I'd like to ask Tim Cowan to please come down, introduce himself, give your address, and you have 3 minutes. And at the end of 2 minutes, the amber light comes on, and at the end of 3 minutes, the red light comes on. So welcome.
Mayor and City Council members, my name is Tim Cowan, and I reside at 3160 Dogwood Street in Salem, Oregon. I'm going to talk about Howard Hall. One thing that I want to mention right up front is I own the trademark as the citizen's lobbyist, and as such, when I go to the state, I talk and address things that impact the state as a whole. Some of you might have seen my article or letter to the editor, so I'll try to go over it somewhat quick. I first want to tell you about my experience with the blind community. I was asked when I was with First Interstate Bank to come down and talk about an employment opportunity for blind people. And at the meeting, I don't know why, but they wanted to have another meeting. And I said, I don't want to go to another meeting, so I'll provide a loan for $750,000 if we can just get moving with it. As a result, we set up a company that employed at the most 90 blind people. So that's kind of my connection with the blind community. Here's my issue. Salem is the capital of the state of Oregon, and it has been the benefactor of a lot of unique buildings because it had that designation. So I think the city has the responsibility to protect and preserve the heritage of the state for the citizens of the state, not just for the use of Salem by itself. And I'll go ahead and let you maybe read my letter to the editor again, but I mentioned that I didn't think that the city had done a very good job in preserving that heritage, that there's a lot of buildings, even in my lifetime, that have been removed, that it would be really neat if they were still here. Well, the current debate accepts that some parties will win and some parties would lose. The conclusion will merely be a use of power, and the primary power is indifference. I'm running out of time, huh?
No, you're fine.
1 minute.
Oh.
No, you're fine.
I attended a seminar at Harvard, and I was asked to give a presentation to the international audience at Harvard. And negotiations is easy. It's very easy if it's not a win-lose. And if you negotiate it correctly, everyone comes out with more than what they thought was possible. And what I would be willing to do, if you would like, I would work with a group and try to negotiate a solution to Howard Hall that would be greater than any of the people involved in it thought was possible. And if I'm running out of time, I don't see colors.
No, you're fine.
Oh,
You're fine.
okay. I guess, huh?
Oh, whoops.
Maybe not.
But
You know,
you did
that's
have written
what-
testimony that you gave to us, right?
That happens at stoplights, too.
No. But, Mr. Cowan, you did have written testimony that you provided to the council, so we should all be sure that we've
I
read
did.
that. So, perfect. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming down. I'm sorry that we didn't catch you.
Can I make one last
earlier.
comment that I was
Certainly.
planning to? The staff at the city that I worked with were excellent. They were better than what you would have expected them to be. They were perfect. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you. All right. We are going to the agenda, and we're now at the consent calendar. So, Councilor Tesler, do you have a motion?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to make a motion to adopt the consent calendar with the following polls. 3.2F by the councilor from Ward 7 and 3.2G by the councilor from Ward 8.
All right. So you moved for the adoption of the consent calendar.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. My cohort is giving me valuable coaching. Also with the following other poll, 3.3A by the councilor from Ward 4. And that is all. Ward 3. And that is all.
Okay. Thank you. All right. It's been moved to adopt the consent calendar with the exception of the three polls, which are 3.2F, 3.2G, and 3.3A. Okay. Is there a second? It's been moved by Councilor Tesler and seconded by Councilor Nanke to adopt the consent calendar with the exception of the three polls. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Moving along, we have public hearings, and we have 3 public hearings this evening. Would the city recorder please introduce the first public hearing, 4.A?
Madam Mayor, that's a continuation of deliberations, so there's no script needed for that hearing.
All right. Then I would ask for a motion from Councilor Tesler regarding item 4A.
I'm sorry,
It's all right.
okay, I'll move staff recommendation.
All right, it's been moved by Councilor Tesler and seconded by, I didn't see who. All right, Councilor Clem to move staff recommendation. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Bennett. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, we've had a pretty good success with this by continuing deliberations over time, and I just suggest we continue this for another 6 months as an alternative. I move we continue this for another 6 months.
All right, so that's an amended motion?
No, substitute.
Yep. Substitute motion. Thank you very
Yep.
much. And it was just seconded by Councilor Clem. All right, it's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Clem to continue this public hearing for another 6 months. Is there discussion? Councilor Nanke.
Unless Councilor Bennett wanted to speak to his motion.
Councilor Bennett, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I'm fine, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
Fine, all right.
I,
Yes.
brought it up at a couple of neighborhood associations. It sounds like there's still some nagging issues. I don't know if it get better. I mean, you look over the last several and it's like still the same, still the same, still the same. It'd be nice to have some mode to actually improve performance because nothing is really happening. It's all pretty much staying the same every 6 months.
I see, okay. Councilor Councilor Clem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've seen an improvement.
Okay.
I think as long as we continue to deliberate until we get it where we want it, then holding it open another 6 months. I think the Statesman Journal is doing a much, much better job in not throwing papers in people's driveways that really don't want them. So I would like to encourage that they continue to make progress. And if in the next 6 months we still don't need progress, then we'll deliberate. But I think I'd rather see over time progress than this absolute another city code that is just going to be hard to enforce. And having willing folks involved as opposed to ones that we're slapping fines on. I think progressive always works out better for us.
Councilor Nanke?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, and my suggestion would just be to call the Statesman Journal and see what their plans are to try to make it better so we don't have to keep sitting there and extending the thing out for, I mean, it costs us a lot of time and effort to put the staff reports together for this every time and to go over staff sitting here for, the entirety of an evening. So it'd just be
Yes.
nice to see what they can do.
I can meet with Mr. Silberman again and pass on council's comments and ask what else can be done.
Thanks.
Okay, and I have a comment from our guest counselor for Ward 4, and then after that, Councilor Tesler. Yes.
I think keeping this open is a good idea. Actually, my neighborhood, I guess we aren't the right demographic because we don't get it at all. But at my prior address, I got responses ranging from, "Oh yeah, we'll take care of it," to "I don't have time to listen to this," and hung up on. So I think this sort of keeping this possibility out there is a good idea, and I commend the council for doing that.
Okay, appreciate your comments. Councilor Tesler.
I am still occasionally having problems with stuff dumped in my driveway. So I have to go down there and talk to somebody, or I have to call, and you have to wait on the phone. And here's just have a web link. Just have a thing you can go, you can click on it, and it's done. It just seems to every so often you have to kind of remind them, don't dump that stuff in my driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And you do see people just come down the street and throw it indiscriminately off the back of the truck at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think there's still problems with people not getting the message or them not communicating with their contractor or whatever. So I do want to keep it open, but just let's work on that a little better.
Okay, all right. So I guess those are the comments. So you take those to the Statesman Journal.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right. So we have a motion on the floor, and the motion is to continue the hearing. And I would call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Our next public hearing item is 4.4B. Would the recorder please introduce that?
The City Council will now hold a public hearing to consider annexation of territory located at 4911 and 4922 Swiggle Road Northeast into the City of Salem. Comprehensive plan map designation change from single-family residential to multifamily residential for the 0.39 acre property at 4922 Swiggle Road Northeast. Application of City of Salem RM1 multiple family residential 1 zone from Marion County RM multiple family residential, and withdrawal of the territory from Marion County Fair District Number 1. Testimony on the annexation shall be directed toward whether the proposed changes are in conformance with the review criteria set forth under SRC 260.060C. Testimony on the comprehensive plan map designation change shall be directed to the criteria as set forth in SRC 2060.060C5. Testimony on the application of City of Salem zoning shall be directed to the criteria as set forth in SRC 260.045. Testimony on the withdrawal, which is not a land use decision, shall be directed toward whether such withdrawal is for the best interest of the city. Testimony may also address any other criteria a person believes applies to the proposed changes. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal of action on the annexation to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. The City Council shall grant such requests by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written evidence, arguments, or testimony.
Thank you very much. I believe we have a staff report. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening. I'm Pamela Cole, and I'm presenting the staff report for annexation case C714 for property at 4911 and 4922 Swiggle Road Northeast. I request that the staff report, attachments, and presentation be entered into the official record. The purpose of a public hearing for an annexation is to give council the opportunity to determine whether the proposal meets the requirements and criteria for the annexation, to decide whether to refer the annexation to voters, and to approve certain documents for the election. This first proposal we have this evening for you is a petitioner-initiated annexation of about 1 acre. It also includes a change for the Salem Area Comprehensive Plan and the East Lancaster Neighborhood Plan map designations from single-family to multifamily for the northern parcel at 4922 Swiggle Road Northeast. It includes the application of the City of Salem RM1 multiple family residential 1 zone to the entire territory, and withdrawal from Marion County Fire District Number 1 for the entire territory. The annexation territory is contiguous to the Salem city limits on the north and also on the west. The territory includes a portion of Swiggle Road Northeast right-of-way, as well as a very small sliver of Gabriella Court Northeast right-of-way. The entire territory is currently zoned RM multiple family residential in Marion County. The northern parcel contains a single-family dwelling and some accessory buildings. Properties to the east and the west are developed with single-family dwellings. Properties to the north and south are developed with manufactured home parks. With the proposed zoning of RM1, this would allow a variety of residential uses, including apartments, townhouses, duplexes, and manufactured dwelling parks. The RM1 zone allows a minimum of 6 dwelling units per acre for manufactured dwelling parks, minimum of 8 dwelling units per acre for other residential uses, and a maximum of 14 dwelling units per acre. The southern part is currently designated multifamily residential in the Salem Area Comprehensive Plan and zoned RM. The northern parcel is currently zoned single-family residential and zoned RM. The surrounding areas are designated either multifamily residential or single-family residential. The petitioner is proposing to change the comprehensive plan designation and Lancaster Neighborhood Plan map designation to multifamily. and that would be equivalent to the City of Salem RM1 designation, match up with the Marion County multiple family zoning designation, and would be consistent with, so that both parcels have the same designations. The Planning Commission also reviewed the applicant's conceptual plan map, and future development would be required to be in substantial conformance. It's for a total of 4 units and a total of 8, minimum of 8 parking spaces on the site. Annexation proposals are subject to criteria in SRC 260.060C. These include whether land use designations are consistent with comprehensive plan and statewide planning goals, whether the proposed boundary, land uses, and density allow orderly, efficient, and timely provision of urban services, and whether the referral of the annexation would serve the public interest. Staff found the proposed annexation met the annexation criteria and included findings in Exhibit 3 of the order, which is attached as item M. The Planning Commission also reviewed the comprehensive plan change criteria for annexations and found that the proposal met those criteria. Their findings are included in attachments D and E to the staff report. In general, the city does support annexations because they allow the city to provide efficient services. They promote compact growth within the urban growth boundary, provide an adequate supply of land for a variety of land uses, and allow the community to share the cost of urban services. And staff recommends that the council refer the proposed annexation, the comprehensive plan change, and the zoning designations and withdrawal from the fire district to the voters on the November 4th ballot. I'm available if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone signed up to testify? All right, we do have an individual signed up to testify, Bruce Hoffman. If you'll please state your name and address, and are you the petitioner?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Bruce
So
Hoffman.
how many minutes does he have? 10? Is that right?
Yes, it's
10 minutes. Okay,
I will
welcome.
do you all a favor and not take 10 minutes.
All right, that's all right.
My name
Welcome.
is Bruce Hoffman. I live at 2838 Livingston Street. And I have no formal presentation for you tonight, but I just wanted to be here to answer any questions you might have in regards to this. So.
All right, thank you very much. Let me ask a point of order. So can we ask questions of him at this point, or do we wait? We can do that right now? All right. Okay, all right, there is no one else that signed up, so we'd like to have this time to talk with you. So councilors, questions? Yes, oh, no, I'm not seeing any hands, all right. Well, thank you. We do appreciate you coming tonight. It's always helpful when we can actually see the person that's bringing the application forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, now we have time for questions for staff. Do any counselors have questions for staff? All right, none, then we will close the public hearing. And I would ask for a motion from our acting council president, Councilor Tesler.
Thank you. I'm going to move staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Tesler and seconded by Councilor Bednarz to move the staff recommendation. Is there discussion? Councilor Rogers, is there any discussion or questions? All right, Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just as a reminder, and as we come into the annexation season, basically we're just making sure it meets the criteria and is acceptable to then proceed out to the election so the voters can choose whether or not to bring that into the city or not.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bednarz.
I just clarify legal, is this a land use issue, ex parte contact kind of thing? Yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any further comments or questions by councilors?
A reminder.
All right. All right, the motion on the floor, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And our third item is 4C, and if the recorder would please introduce that.
The City Council will now hold a public hearing to consider annexation of territory located at 1910 and 1930 Wallace Road Northwest into the City of Salem. Application of City of Salem RM1 Multiple Family Residential 1 Zone from Polk County SR Suburban Residential, and withdrawal of the territory from Salem Suburban Rural Fire Protection District. Testimony on the annexation may be directed toward whether the proposed changes are in conformance with the review criteria set forth under SRC 260.060C. Testimony on the application of City of Salem zoning shall be directed to the criteria as set forth in SRC 260.045. Testimony on the withdrawal, which is not in a land use decision, shall be directed toward whether such withdrawal is for the best interest of the city. Testimony may also address any other criteria a person believes applies to the proposed changes. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal of action on the annexation to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. The City Council shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written evidence, arguments, or testimony.
Thank you.
Good evening again. I'm Pamela Cole, and I'm also presenting the staff report for annexation case 715 for 1910 and 1930 Wallace Road. I would request again that the staff report attachments and presentation be entered into the official record. Unlike the previous annexation, this is a city-initiated annexation. It's an enclave territory that's completely surrounded by the city limits. The request includes application of the RM1 Multiple Family Residential 1 zoning. It's currently zoned suburban residential in Polk County and designated multifamily in the comprehensive plan. The RM1 designation is the equivalent zoning in the city. Under state law, the territory, because it's an enclave, is subject to a 3-year delay of the effective date. It's also in residential use and residentially zoned. And if the annexation is approved by voters, the effective date would be sometime in early 2018. This territory is located on the east side of Wallace Road Northwest. The territory to the south was annexed in 2007. The properties to the north and east were annexed in March 2013, and that made this territory an enclave. According to the council-approved annexation policies, staff is required to initiate annexation of all eligible enclaves. The current multifamily residential zoning, comprehensive plan designation and zoning are suburban residential in Polk County. The property is currently developed with a single-family residence and accessory buildings. The abutting properties are currently designated multifamily in the comp plan and zoned multifamily residential 1. And those include apartments to the north, a single-family dwelling to the east, and a vacant property to the south. So the comprehensive plan designation and zoning are consistent with those abutting properties. And we aren't going to restate the criteria and the requirements, but staff again recommends that council refer this annexation to the voters.
Okay. All right. And we have no one signed up for this agenda item. Was there anyone in the council chambers who had come to testify regarding this annexation? All right, seeing none, we'll move to questions of staff. Questions of staff. Councilor Clem and then Councilor Bednarz.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I could, I have 2 questions. And I had already sort of asked staff a couple, but my first question, I think for Pamela or for Glenn, they're operating not a commercial nursery there now, but they're operating a nursery where they grow things and they donate them to nonprofits. So I think the nursery that used to be there is just pretty much not an operating business anymore. But the question is, can they continue to grow things and donate them to nonprofits?
As far as we're concerned, that's a residential accessory use. It's residential zoning, that's just an accessory use, and
So
they're
if the
allowed to
voters approve
continue.
it, they could continue to support, do what they're doing now?
Yes.
Okay. And the second thing, I saw that the West Salem Neighborhood Association referenced the desire of the property owners, but I didn't see anything in the record where the property owners had complained about the city initiating this enclave, or, so I really don't know, and obviously with ex parte stuff, didn't call them, but what is the take of the property owners on this city-initiated annexation, do we know?
We have not received written comments or calls on this matter from
But they know about it, right?
Yes, we're required to give them notice. We did that, and we also sent them a copy of the staff report.
And the West Salem Neighborhood Association declined to vote on it as well?
I provided the comments in the staff report, and mostly they were just trying to relay the property owners' concerns, and they had a discussion of the background of annexations, and
Sure.
that's what we received.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilor Bednarz?
Thank you. Quick question. Once they're annexed into the city, are they required to hook into city services?
They wouldn't be immediately, but if the property is developed in the future, then that's something that we would require.
So septic system fails, they need to replace it, they could replace it with another septic at this point?
No,
No,
because services are available and nearby, they would have to replace it and
Okay, thank
hook
you.
up to city services in that instance.
All right, are there further questions of staff? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. And this is in Councilor Clem's ward. Councilor Clem, do you have a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move staff recommendation to move forward with the city-initiated annexation to the voters in November.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilor Clem and seconded by Councilor Bednarz to approve staff recommendation. Is there discussion? Is there discussion among council? No, don't see any. All right, we'll move to the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. We'll now move to our special orders of business because we have 3 items that were pulled from the agenda earlier from the consent calendar. And the first one is 3.2F. Councilor Bednarz, would you like to make a motion regarding your pull, 3.2F?
Yes, I recommend staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Bednarz and seconded by Councilor Tesler to move staff recommendation. And is there discussion? Yes, Councilor Bednarz.
If I may, I had an opportunity to speak to staff about this matter earlier today and answered many of my questions. My concern has been, are we basically pricing ourselves out of the market on certain garages that we have downtown? I was assured that we are doing or already have a study of the use of each of the garages. That's why there's a variance between one garage over the next, why one garage will be $72 a month, while another might be only 52? No. $57 over at Pringle. But I'm concerned that it's just another one of those bricks on the wall for some of those people who are working downtown, and another reason for them to leave the downtown community. I'm certainly getting those vibes from the people down there. I understand as well that there'll be some major changes this summer as some of the buildings in downtown Salem develop. The demand will be going up considerably on some of those structures because we'll have additional employees in downtown Salem that need sites to park their cars. So this, I think, is preemptive to all that.
I think so. Councilor Clem.
Yes, I understand that there's differences both in the current rate and the recommended rate for what we charge for monthly permits in the various garages. It's based upon the law of supply and demand. And the assumption is made here that we are managing the cash flows, revenues, and expenses of each one of these parking garages separately.
That's correct.
We're setting separate fees.
That's correct.
What prevents us from, in the future, just thinking about a basic rate? I mean, we're losing money on parking now anyway, so
That's
why
good.
does it matter?
John Wales, Urban Development Director. That's a very good question. We used to do that. Several years ago, we recognized that there's a big difference in demand in the utilization within the parking structures. And we started a program where we actually did demand studies, usage studies for each garage, and realized that there were price points that were different, and that we started charging the price point based on what the demand was. And that's what, as Councilor Bednarz just indicated, is the reason for the differential. Charging one price across all garages doesn't address the demand issue.
And that it doesn't, how doesn't it address the demand issue?
Well, it's based on usage, and so there are, is it every 2 years or every frequent? How often do we do the? I think it's about every 2 years we do demand studies to analyze what that usage is, and we set our rates according to those price points. And they vary. Some garages, particularly the Liberty Street garage, for example, has the highest demand. It has the highest price. Customers have the choice to either park there or park at Chemeketa or over at Pringle if they want to pay lower. So you have that flexibility. But we're only charging for what we think that price point is based on demand.
Okay, so if we drop the prices dramatically, then we would be, there would never be a parking space in Liberty. According to your supply and demand curve, that's...
Liberty is most likely to be filled this summer. So we think that we're right at that price point. And keep in mind, too, that particularly the three garages downtown, Liberty, Chemeketa, and Marion, are one of the two primary funding sources for the parking fund. And so we monitor that very carefully and make sure that we are maximizing the rents in the garages where we need it, and we're charging the appropriate rent to attract the demand that for a location such as Marion.
All right. Are there further questions? Yes, Councilor Rogers.
Mayor, I'm kind of confused here. I'm confused in what I thought I read and what I don't see in the report right now. I thought I saw in here the Civic Center parking fee in the original report when I read it.
There are several items on the agenda for different fees.
We haven't
John
addressed
Wales
this.
can
This
clarify.
staff report's dealing with the three downtown parking garages, whose revenues feed the parking district, plus Pringle, which is separate, but it's also a downtown parking garage. The city center wasn't included in this analysis. That's really a separate discussion which we will be having regarding the parking, which is mostly, it's not public parking, it's mostly for employees in the city center and at the library too. So we haven't had, that's not part of this pricing tonight.
Well, help me understand what I was reading, because I read that in a report this week.
Yes, it's in the resolution. If you go to the attached resolution from this report of this item,
okay.
It's on Exhibit 1 and at the bottom of that page.
Okay. I guess what I wanted to address with that piece, if I may, Mayor, and I don't see it right here, but I'm going to go by my memory so you can correct me, that it seemed like the employee parking was in the $40 range.
That's right.
And I thought that should compare to other parking garages, at least to maybe an average of everything else, so that when we're encouraging people to park downtown and pay a fee, that we're not sitting here at the Civic Center with our employees getting a better deal, and knowing that we're paying a lot of people minimum wages and asking them to use alternative modes of transportation that come to town, and yet we provide a real benefit of $40 a month here. So was my point. Wherever it's appropriate at, I don't know right now.
Okay. It has been a while since we've adjusted this fee, I believe, and so that's something if council wanted us to, we could take a look at.
I think that's what I'm trying to say, Mayor. I'd like the council, I'd like staff to bring us back something on that so we could make an opinion.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor, I believe, correct? Okay, were there other comments regarding the motion? All right, seeing none. will move for the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries with one no vote registered by Councilor Rogers. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Councilor Clem? Councilor Clem was the no vote. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, gentlemen, but you all have maybe the same tone of voice, and when I'm looking down, I don't see which one of you is actually making your motions. Okay.
And they all have gray hair, too.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about that. All right.
And hair on their face.
We will move now to item 3.2G, which was pulled by Councilor Clem. Councilor Clem, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Clem and seconded by Councilor Tesler to move staff recommendation on item 3.2G. Is there discussion? Councilor Clem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had asked staff, warned staff, I guess, that I'd be asking a question. Boy, this parking thing's, yeah, I guess I'm in a no mood tonight, but are we still subsidizing the true cost of parking, and this business increase in the business tax, minimum tax, is really just because based on CPI? Two questions, I guess, but how much are we still subsidizing the real cost of just the limited, very limited parking enforcement we're doing now?
Well, we have two John Wales Urban Development, again, we have two funding sources for the parking fund. One is the business tax that the businesses pay, and one is the revenue that we get from the garages for our permits. Those those revenue sources together do not cover the costs of the parking fund, particularly for capital expenditures,
Right.
for the maintenance, not maintenance, it's not used for maintenance, for capital projects. For example, the elevator repairs or the skywalk repairs that are needed. And so for several years, that money for the capital capital improvements have come from the Urban Renewal Agency, and that had been debated earlier in the budget process as to whether that was going to continue or not. It's about $1.3 million in this budget. It's really 1.28 million that is going in from the URA, Riverfront Downtown URA, to pay for those capital improvements. So to answer your question, Councilor, yes, the Urban Renewal Agency is subsidizing this fund because there is not enough revenue in the current structure of the revenue to pay for those costs.
Okay, and those subsidies are for capital improvements?
Only capital improvement, not operations.
Okay, so how are operations paid for then?
Paid for out of these revenues.
Out of these revenues?
Yes.
Okay. How come I still
All right.
don't like it?
Do you have a follow-up question, Councilor
No,
Clem?
ma'am. Thank you very much.
That's all right. All right. Councilor Clausen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wales, this spurs the conversation spurs some questions, that I didn't think about while I was reading all this, so humor me if you will. What is the history of the differentiation between the business parking tax, the business paid parking tax, and the parking garages? Specifically, why don't we let those parking garages stand on their own? There's been conversation about, whatever happens with downtown parking, those could be sold, those could be kept, those could be operated by, those could be this or those could be that. And we all know in Portland, well, at least it's my understanding that many of the parking garages are privately owned and funded and they pay for themselves. Would it be absolutely insane to start talking about Marion Parkade supports Marion Parkade, Liberty Parkade supports Liberty Parkade, Pringle Parkade supports Pringle Parkade, and we keep those funds integral to that building, and we've got to price our services according to what it takes us to operate them, and then we divvy out the downtown business paid parking tax to support operations of the parking district and only operations that can be paid out of that.
That's a great question. That was one of the questions the parking task force wrestled with when they looked at this a year ago. It's very difficult to charge to pay to park in a garage when parking on the street is free. And that's the big issue. That's the big difference between Portland and Salem or Eugene and Salem, is that it's very hard to get someone to be motivated to go into a garage if you're offering free parking on the street. No, it would be almost impossible to finance or to sell those garages to another entity as long as they're competing with free parking on the street. And that's always been the dynamic at play. We've looked at the opportunity to put and it's been suggested before to put up a gate and charge for parking in the garages. It's the likelihood of people willing to do that and the revenues that we would receive from that would not cover the cost.
So revenues from parking permits paid in those garages is what fraction of total cost, annual cost in a garage? And I don't need exacts.
Let's see. It's maybe Renee. I don't know if you know the number. I can tell you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Like I said, conversation sometimes makes me think things I don't think when I'm reading them.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, certainly. Councilor Bennett?
Madam Mayor, I just lost track of where you are on this agenda. Are we on D or are we on?
We're on 3.2 G.
G is in gamma.
G on the.
What's that got to do with $20,000 on the mayor council budget? I'm just lost. Am I not seeing this correctly?
This was a poll at the beginning of the night.
This is G.
G is in girl.
Yes, these were polls that were now under special orders of business. And this item was pulled. It's 3.2 G as in go.
Oh, G. Okay,
G.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't hear that letter. I apologize. Thank you.
No, it's fine. It's difficult to hear through this system, so that's fine.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Good. No, I'm glad you asked. All right.
I could give you the order of magnitude. The parking tax collection, the money that we get from the tax, is about $426,000 a year. The revenue that we receive from the permits, the people that park in the garages, is about $551,000. There's a few other revenue sources. It's about $1 million that we get in revenue for this fund. The cost this year, with all of the capital improvements, is about $2.5 million. So the revenue doesn't cover the cost of what those garages are to take care of.
But that's a one-year capital improvement. Over the last 20 years, if we were making $500,000 on permit income and kept it inside that garage, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not asking for an answer necessarily, but maybe this is an idea for us to noodle on as we go forward with the parking. If it was all kept within that garage and not divvied out to other parking services in the downtown area, would we have been closer to even to where URA is in funding?
The estimates that we received from both internally and from our traffic consultant is that we would not generate the revenue to operate and maintain those properties efficiently or safely.
All right. Were there further questions? Councilor Bednarz.
I just want to clarify here. First off, parking tax, you said, brings in $426,000 per year? Is that
for the permits?
For the permits. And then the
I'm sorry, for the parking tax. For the parking tax is $426, and for the permits is $551,000.
And then the 2.5 came from where?
That's what the total that's what, when you look at the expenses are to run the facility and to maintain them for this coming year.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask another question here. We went from, as an example, the minimum tax was hotly debated last year, and certainly we received a lot of public comment in reference to that, set at $400 per year. We've raised it to $408, obviously a 2% increase.
Which is the cap.
Which is the cap, unless we change it within this council.
That's correct.
It could be CPI, it could be anything else that we so decide.
That is
at
correct.
That point. So a motion would have to be brought before this council in order to move it to anything else.
And that's correct. Just to be clear, that cap was put in place from the voter initiative that was circulated last fall, and the council took the action to adopt it. So it's a relatively new cap. So
the next question is, so what is this $8 per minimum what is it basically going to net us overall? What are we going to net out of that 2% increase?
It's about $8,000.
So for $8,000, are we making life that much more miserable for individuals who pay the minimum tax downtown? That's my basic question. Is it worth that $8?
it's purely up to the council to make that decision, that this is a fund that is upside down.
And it's going to be upside down even with the $8 increase.
It will be, and that
Even
is,
if you doubled it and made it $800, I bet you it's still going to be upside down.
Right.
I don't know. I've struggled with it. I just struggle with it because this doesn't answer the question, and it doesn't even follow the rate of inflation at this point.
No, it's a good question. It's a good discussion point, and I know it's been debated. But the whole concept behind the tax originally was for business to secure free parking downtown, or to assure that. This isn't free parking. This parking has a cost. It has a subsidy. It's got a large subsidy. So the parking tax, no matter where you put it, is not going to solve the deficit in this fund.
There's another answer, because this is not, it's insufficient for the funding for what needs to be done. Insufficient. Okay, thanks.
All right, Councilor Clem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and that's why I'm not going to support the motion that I recommended. We just continue, the free parking downtown is just being further subsidized by an increase in the business tax rate. And the net effect is we aren't solving the problem. And I know we'll have future discussions about parking again, I'm sure, and revenues, and we're passing the budget tonight. But this is we're throwing a pebble at a cart that's already left the barn. And it's, so if we vote for it, we aren't anywhere closer, maybe $8,000 closer to $1 million shortfall. So it's a small, feeble attempt, and I look forward to discussions in the next 6 months. Let's put it that way.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Bennett.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I wondered, I have received a number of calls about this and contacts about it, and the reason I've gotten them is because people have been notified of this increase as part of their bill. Have they been billed this $408 already in advance of this, or was that notification just that the council was contemplating this change?
This is John Wales, Urban Development Director. They've been notified that this is in the budget, and if the council adopts it tonight, it will go into effect July 1st, if they adopt the budget.
Did that answer your question, Councilor Bennett?
Yeah, I just a comment. I don't think it was worded so explicitly that people understood that this was up for discussion tonight, or we'd have had some folks in either by email or personally commenting on that $8 and how frustrating it is for them.
I wanted to clarify, because I don't know if the staff report is clear enough. It's $8 per year increase,
right,
or for the per space rate, about $2.86 per year.
Yeah, it really just, to comment on it, it just caused quite a reaction among the folks that talked to me. I just don't think it was clear in the communication to them that this was not a completed decision. They seemed to think that their letter indicated they owed $8 more this year, and I found people very unhappy about it. It's not the amount; it's the principle of the thing,
We'll look at that communication again and make sure, if council continues the same direction to do 2% or CPI, whichever is lower, that we make sure that that's very clear in the notice we give.
Okay, where are we? We have a motion on the floor. All right, is there more discussion? Any further discussion? All right, and the motion was to move the staff recommendation, as I remember, and the individuals making the motion, I believe that, who made the motion? Councilor Clem made the motion, and it was seconded by Councilor Tesler. That's right. All right, thank you. So the motion on the floor is to move staff recommendation. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, say nay.
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 All right, we'll have to have a show of hands. How many people are voting no? Okay, Councilor Tesler, Councilor Clem, Councilor Bednarz, and Councilor Bennett, did you vote
Yes,
no?
I'm a no.
All right, you're a no, so it's 4, 5, Councilor Nanke, all right, 5 to 3. Motion fails. All right, we have one more item under the special orders of business, and that's 3.3A, I believe.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would move staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Nanke and seconded by Councilor Tesler to move staff recommendation on item 3.3A. And would you like to speak to your motion, Councilor Nanke?
I would love to, because this property has survived reapportionment and moved between wards. It's been derelict so long.
Yeah. It's true. I inherited it.
But a couple of weeks ago, I'd spoken with Brady Rogers at a neighborhood meeting, and it sounded like there was a potential that we were in a fight or a race to tear it down with the bank. And in one case, we would have to pay for it, and the other we wouldn't, even though it's $19,000. I just wanted to ask where, and is that our best option?
And Mr. Rogers is here.
If we can just touch on that. We know it all needs to get torn down big time.
Okay.
Because it's just an eyesore, and it's been a pain for many folks for very, very long.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor,
Welcome.
City Councilors. My name is Brady Rogers. I'm the administrator of the Neighborhood Enhancement Division for the City of Salem. There was sort of I hate to term it like sort of a poker game between us and the people who had title to this property on the demolition. They've since become suspiciously silent as we've gotten closer. We prevailed, got the demolition order through the hearings officer action, and I intend to have if this passes tonight, to have the contract ready for Linda to execute tomorrow. I'm working with legal to obtain the warrant to enter upon the property, and I would like to begin demolition of this house before the end of the week.
Sweet.
All right, thank you. Councilor Clausen, and then Councilor Bednarz, then Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In light of that question, do we have any recourse to put a lien on this property for our costs of doing this?
Yes, actually, that's part of SRC Chapter 56, is that we can lien the property for our demolition expenses. The problem here, and this is why we've been reluctant to go forward with this, is there's an existing loan of more than probably $120,000 on the property at this time. The lot value is somewhere $40,000, $50,000 maybe. Whatever our expenses are, even if we lien the property, we're not getting our money back.
All right. I believe Councilor Clem had a question, or was it Councilor Bednarz? Thank you, Councilor Bednarz.
So for the sake that you said that you could literally file this demolition permit for tomorrow, my question has to do, this process has not been something that's been real speedy from what I understand. How long has this been going on with this particular piece of property to let people know that we're not just rushing through this? There's quite a process, quite a few hoops that we have to jump through as a city before we get to this point.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. We maximize our efforts to get other people to use their money, insurance companies, private owners. I did a little math last night, and I thought about all the dangerous building cases I've handled over the last 20 years. And the expenses, if we had just rushed to demolition to do these, and this is not counting the courthouse square, but it would have been in excess of $8 million we would have spent demolishing buildings. As it happens, we only come before council when we need to, once in a while. And this is one of these cases where it's taken years to get here. We've tried everything. Nothing's worked. So I'm asking for the permission to go ahead and execute this agreement and demolish this house.
And in the meantime, the neighbors have to put up with the house that's broken into frequently. In fact, it was broken into enough that it caught on fire at one point.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
So
that's correct.
Fairly derelict at this point. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Nanke, I think, had a question or a comment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, the facility essentially is 5 years in the makings. And it's an eyesore for people even just driving by. And I don't know how many times staff has to go inside and rouse people out. I mean, I think that was the building where they thought somebody was actually dead in one of the rooms. So, needs to go away. I was going to hit on the issue that it was actually less valuable than, and we were far enough down the lien chain that we would see nothing. But would it not be to the advantage of the title holder, because they can't sell it with it on it? Why would we do it rather than pushing them to do it?
Yeah, we have attempted such action. We have an owner who is still on the title. It's not owned by the mortgage company at this time, and they have not foreclosed. They've not made payments on the house for several years. And they essentially have no money, no funds to pull off the demolition. And even at times the mortgage holder has been reluctant even to consider the possibility of foreclosure. So this is sort of the communication that's happened over the years, going into the derelict, through the derelict building stage into the dangerous building stage. So.
Okay. Yeah, and it's not something we just do lightly, and it very rarely comes in front of us. This one needs to go away.
All right, Councilor Tesler.
Yeah, this one needs to go away. I mean, I run past this, I walk past it, I drive past it. We've gotten a lot of complaints about it. I'm sorry, taxpayers, but we got to get this one out of there. I mean, it's bad. It's a bad one, and it needs to leave. And it has been 5 years, you know? So it's time. Take it, cut, plug, demolish.
Spend more staff time on it than that.
Yep.
All right. Any further questions for Mr. Rogers? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your assistance and your report on this property. We have a motion before us. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Bednarz. You have a
Quick question for legal. Is
Yes.
this an ex parte? Is it land use?
No.
It's not really land use. So, okay, ex parte doesn't count. I'm keen on that issue these
I
days.
know. We've got to be careful. We appreciate that. We do. Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the floor, and the motion is to adopt the the staff recommendation. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We have no unfinished business this evening. I want to direct your attention to information reports. Item 7, information reports. Were there any information reports where councilors would like to discuss the report or bring it up for questions? Councilor Tesler.
Thank you. I do have an alternate motion for 7D.
Item 7D.
Yes.
D as in dog.
Yes.
Okay.
I move that the council call up the Salem Landmarks Commission decision for historic review case number 14-09, a proposal to demolish Howard Hall for a public hearing to be set in the future by staff.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Tesler and seconded by Councilor Clem to call up the item, the Salem Historic Landmarks Commission decision for council decision. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And now I would like to turn to our city manager, Linda Norris, who has correctly informed me that we need to go back to item 3.2G.
Yes, because you passed the budget tonight and we had a resolution for you for the rates for 14-15. Our previous resolution with the lower rates does not hold unless you make a motion to clarify that your intent is to maintain the minimum tax rate of $400 per year and the per space rate at $144.10 per year.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved by Councilor Clem and seconded by Councilor Bednarz. Is there discussion on the motion? All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for keeping us in order.
Well, it's our great budget staff.
All right, thank you. Thank you. They
And
have their
urban
eyes and
development.
ears ready. Great. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances. And I believe that our city recorder has something to read about the first ordinance, 8.1A.
Ordinance Bill Number 1014 relating to the sale of live animals on city property and in the public right-of-way, creating new provisions, amending SRC 95.720.
All right, Councilor Tesler, do you have a motion?
I would like to have Councilor Bennett make this motion, please.
All right, Councilor Bennett.
Madam Mayor, I move the staff recommendation that we conduct a first reading of Ordinance Bill 1014 and schedule a public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Bednarz to move the staff recommendation to conduct the first hearing on the ordinance bill and schedule a public hearing. Is there discussion? We'll move for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And the second item, 8B, amending the Salem revised code regulations regarding food carts.
Ordinance Bill Number 1114 relating to mobile food units, amending SRC 30.005, 30.400, 30.405, 410, 400.045, 125, 522.005, 523.005, 524.005, 531.010, 540.005, 542.005, 543.005, 544.005, 551.005, 554.005, 604.015, 605.015, 701.005, and 701.010. Repealing SRC 30.415, 420, 425, and 701.020, and renumbering 701.025, 030, and 035, 701, 040, 040, and 701.045.
Thank you very much. Councilor Tesler, do you have a motion for us?
Yes, I do. I will move staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Tesler and seconded by Councilor Bednarz to move staff recommendation. Is there discussion? Yes, visiting Councilor Cox.
Just thank you for I'm full of gratitude tonight. This is I live in the Northgate neighborhood, and we have some of the best tacos in the city up there. And I think this is a no-brainer, what we're talking about here. And go forth and do great things. This is awesome.
And eat.
All right.
And eat delicious things.
All right. Any further discussion or comments by councilors? All right. The motion on the floor is to move forward with staff recommendation on ordinance bill number 1114 relating to mobile food units. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We have under ordinance item C, ordinance bill number 13-14, granting a telecommunications franchise. Would the recorder please introduce this?
Ordinance Bill Number 1314 granting a telecommunications franchise to Astound Broadband LLC and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. And Councilor Tesler, do you have a motion?
I most surely do. I'm going to move staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, and we will, oh, that's all right, okay. It's been moved by Councilor Tesler and seconded by Councilor Bednarz. Is there discussion? All right, we'll move for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And I see that we need to go back to item 3.2G again. Now
Yes,
we have
that's the trouble
further
with doing the
clarification.
budget at the same time as changing a resolution.
Yes.
Our acting city attorney has said that we need to mention the resolution number and amend the resolution number. So, Ms. Zimmerman, can you?
So the resolution number is 2014-48.
So if council makes a motion to amend resolution number 2014-48 and maintain the minimum tax rate at $400 per year and the per space rate at $144.10 per year, that will be sufficient?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay.
All right. So moved. It's been moved by Councilor Clement, seconded by Councilor Bednarz. Is there discussion? Maybe we want to be sure we all know what we're doing here. Councilor Clausen.
I just want to make sure I understand. So
Yes.
we are revising a previously made resolution to include the changes to the fees and their impacts on the budget that was passed previously.
You have a resolution here in your packet, which is 2014-48, that sets the rates beginning July 1st, 2014 and ending June 30th, 2015, and it has a different rate in it. And so to be completely accurate, we need to amend the resolution.
The first motion that was brought back to you amended the rates but did not specifically amend the resolution. So this motion is to formally amend the resolution.
Because it was a separate resolution
Yes.
that included those rates.
Exactly.
And
Okay,
I'm sorry
thank you.
for the confusion.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure we were clear. I was
Yes.
curious if we had
Me
to go back
too.
and do that.
All right, so we have the motion on the floor made by Councilor Clement, seconded by Councilor Bednarz. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries with one nay vote by Councilor Clausen. Was that correct, gentlemen? Did I go too fast and miss something?
Nope.
Was it?
We're good.
All right.
No.
All right.
Just to clarify, we maintained the minimum business parking tax at its current level.
You
That's
did.
right. Yeah, that's right. All right. Okay, we will now move to 8.2A for a second reading. Would the city recorder please introduce this and take the roll call vote?
Ordinance Bill Number 914, amending the Salem Area Comprehensive Plan, expanding the urban growth boundary, a component of the Salem Area Comprehensive Plan, and amending SRC 64.005. Councilor Tesler?
Aye.
Councilor Nanke?
Aye.
Councilor Clausen?
Aye.
Councilor Dickey is absent. Councilor Rogers?
Aye.
Councilor Bednarz?
Aye.
Councilor Clem?
Aye.
Councilor Bennett?
Aye.
Mayor Peterson?
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. The ordinance bill is now enacted, I think. Is that correct? All right. We now have, again, on our agenda, public comment. This is for anything other than agenda items. Is there anyone signed up? No. All right. Is there anyone in the council chambers who wanted to speak at this time? All right. Seeing no one indicating that, we're going to move ahead to new business. I have a mayor's item, which is the proclamation of the mayor and canvass of votes for the primary election on May 20th, 2014. And I have a proclamation to read. These are the primary election results, May 20th, 2014. Whereas the primary election was held on the 20th day of May, 2014, at which candidates for certain offices were voted upon, and whereas the results of the election have been recorded in the minute record of the council, and now therefore I, Anna Peterson, Mayor of the City of Salem, Oregon, proclaim and declare that at said election, Anna Peterson was duly nominated mayor, Tom Anderson was duly nominated Councilor Ward 2, Steve McCoy was duly nominated Councilor Ward 4, Daniel Benjamin was duly nominated Councilor Ward 6, Jim Lewis was duly nominated Councilor Ward 8, and Jane Aiken was duly nominated Municipal Court Judge. And I'll be signing this today at Salem, Oregon on the 23rd day of June, 2014. Congratulations to all. I'd like to take a moment and introduce, because they are here, three of the individuals we just mentioned. Tom Anderson is over here, has been elected for Ward 2, and Steve McCoy for Ward 4. Daniel Benjamin, I think I saw here, Ward 6. And I know Judge Aiken was in the chambers earlier this evening. She may have left by now. So, but congratulations to those elected and nominated in the primary election. We look forward to you joining the team and to all of us working together. Thank you. All right. I have no further business. There's no counselors' items, and we are adjourned.